SABC News reporter Katlego Legodi joins us now in studio to unpack today's court proceedings in this particular case. Katlego, very good afternoon to you. Well, I don't know about you, but a lot of us didn't see that coming. So speak to us about what led us to this court case. So we understand, of course, that the four accused handed themselves over to a police station. They then appeared in court, of course, been given a bail. Give us a sense of what then transpired in court, particularly just the rationale of having these two court cases, or charges rather, being separated, as we've been hearing from the NPA.
A very good afternoon to you, Unati, and of course to our viewers at home. A morning of breaking news, really, as we woke up to this news of the four Transnet executives, former, that found themselves just arrested in the morning. They handed themselves over, and this is what we're catching from the IDEC, that they were, cautioned in any way or given the heads up that this was looming, this arrest. Hence we saw them in the morning, more or less just appearing or approaching the jail, the prison, for them to be really administered there. But this is a matter that dates back, Unati, to 2011. Where Transnet is concerned. If you remember correctly, Transnet was a key feature at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. So most of these cases would be emanating from there, what came out of that report by Judge Zondo at the time, and how then we see those cases moving into prosecution. So we hear that Transnet has been really on the radar of the authorities for quite some time. This is a matter that involves indeed the 1,064 locomotives that were procured here. We are told that they were procured under suspicious activities, and this is what the state is trying to prove here. What we know is that these four are facing 18 charges. One of the charges would be the flouting of the Public Finance Management Act, the contravention of the Companies Act, and they will talk about fraud and corruption that is linked to these cases. And they're saying that the state believing that there is a case that they have to answer to here, especially when you look at the fact that this is a matter that is already within the courts. So the state saying that they have been working on Transnet for quite some time. Hence, they were confident that today would see these four appearing and being processed. This in line with a dodgy tender that we're told it went into 9 million.
So talk to us about what are the next steps then. So we know, of course, that the case has been postponed to August. What are we likely to see there? And particularly, Katlego, just the confidence of the NPA in this particular matter, given what's at stake.
The cases, the arguments that were made in court today were around, for instance, whether they can afford the 200,000 rand. Where we started is where the state proposed that a bail be set at 200,000 rand. So the arguments were around that, whether they're going to be a flight risk, whether they, they would in any way not intimidate the witnesses within this case and jeopardize the matter altogether. But we see there are lawyers really arguing, for instance, arguing that they don't have the money, they can't afford the 200,000 rand. The state, challenging this vehemently to say that here we're talking about billions of rands. Where are these monies? These people should know where these monies are. And hence, they were saying that they're keeping it at 200,000 rand. But we see the Judge Nemativi just moving to say that he's leaving it at 50,000 rand. What happens now is that the investigations would continue. We asked earlier on the IDEC spokesperson to say, can we then expect to see more people added to the list of those that are appearing here today? It does look like they have their own people where this matter is concerned. But notable would be that there is a similar matter that is related to the locomotives that will sit in February. All of the arguments that were coming through from all of the defendants here was that they would want for these matters to be joined, for them to be one case here, because they have to do with the locomotives. But the NPA just going through to say that they wouldn't want to, murky the matters here. They would rather want these cases to be separated. Hence, we see the judge moving to say that he's keeping this at 50,000 rand. They are released on bail. It's a Schedule 5 offense. So there are those strict conditions that are attached to this. They can't move around. They have to, their passports have been, seized, and they have to ensure that they, keep to this bail conditions. Failure to do that, they may find themselves behind bars.
And I mean, just as a final question before we wrap up, what was the demeanor? Did they manage to say anything? We saw, of course, we were watching it during those live proceedings in court. Did any of them, were they willing to speak to the media?
They were not. Frankly, we tried to speak to them as the matter was getting underway, but we were confused as it started as to, are they two, suspects that were handing themselves over here? Or are they four of them? So they wanted the case to get through. Even afterwards, it was a bit of a struggle for us, a tussle to, more or less get a response from them. We tried their lawyers saying that, they're not speaking at this point in time. So I would understand that most of them would be keeping this close to their chest, because they are also looking at the implications of the Moodley. It's called the Moodley trial that will then sit in February 2026, and whatever they say, they wouldn't want then in any way for that to have a bearing on the Moody case. But it has been anyone's guess as to how then they would approach this. They were represented differently by different lawyers, one after the other. So I guess they would be advised as to how then you treat the media. But we had a chance to speak to the IDEC spokesperson, Henry Mamotame, who said that they were confident in their case here as the NPA. They are looking at seeing this through. Remember that they have really been in the news, not for the right reasons, especially where high-profile cases are concerned. So this time around, they would want to in any way make sure that they see this through and it comes out with somewhat of a victory for them as the NPA.
Yeah, which is why the staggering of the cases, was criticized somewhat, by the NPA. But thank you so much, Katlego, for breaking that all down for us. I really do appreciate it. Of course, Katlego Legodi is a senior reporter here at the SABC. All four of the accused former Transnet executives have been granted bail of 50,000 rand each.